Artificial intelligence is the most consequential technology of our time, perhaps of all time. Nothing offers more profound possibilities and risks for our economy and our security, our society, for humanity. Artificial intelligence even has the potential to help us answer my call to end cancer as we know it. But unless safeguards are in place, AI could spawn new threats to our rights, our way of life, to our privacy, how we work, and how we protect our nation. We must make sure AI is safe and trustworthy and good for all humankind. In the age of AI, it's more important than ever that the people must govern. And as the land of liberty, America, not China, must lead the world in the development of AI. I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. This is a dangerous concentration, and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. The dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before. More than a century ago, but the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy, just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to. Workers want rights to earn their fair share. We must not be bullied into sacrificing the future of our children and our grandchildren. We must keep pushing forward and push faster. There's no time to waste. It's also clear that American leadership in technology is an unparalleled source of innovation that can transform lives. We see the same dangers of the concentration of technology, power, and wealth. In his farewell address, President Eisenhower spoke of the dangers of the military-industrial complex. He warned us then about, and I quote, the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power, end of quote. 6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech-industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit. We must hold the social platforms accountable to protect our children, our families, and our very democracy from the abuse of power. I can announce a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas.
Don't underestimate the massive compliance budget because of all these regulations at every one of these firms. That has a chance now to be reallocated into different areas where you may have greater growth. M&A is going to explode. I don't think there's any question about that. I think we all would agree with that. And at the end of the day, we're finally getting real clarity with regard to crypto. He wants to be the crypto king. He wants to be the crypto president. He wants the United States to be the crypto country of the world. The people that he's hired to or appointing, most of them are invested in the crypto world. Now, every one of the obstacles that have existed over the last decade, they're gone. They're gone. So when you think about that in terms of going forward, we would all say, you should never fight the Fed.
Concern and the lack of regulation and even enforcement of digital assets in a way that shoot away developers, people like myself and people working in cryptocurrencies that went to places like Switzerland or went offshore to Dubai. And so now it's a matter of bringing these people back. So that should be the number one priority, is giving these developers a home to ensure that they can create these cryptocurrencies and innovate in an area that is traditionally scrutinized and regulated via enforcement by the likes of Gary Gensler, who's so popular in this space. So now I think it's a window of opportunity for people like Paul Atkins to come in, create regulatory guidelines, do things like repealing SAB 121, getting cryptocurrencies to not be liabilities on companies' balance sheets, bringing in new regulation through FIT 21, getting that through the Senate, and having the ability for the CFTC to take more jurisdiction of crypto assets, regulating them as commodities, because Bitcoin itself is a commodity-like asset. We call it digital gold because it has gold-like properties and characteristics. It's physically mined, it has an energy proponent, and it has a consumption-like guarantee that looks something like gold. And with its fixed supply and fixed cap, it actually has some properties that might be better than gold. So that is the part in which I think the regulation is going to come to fruition, getting some of those initial bills through, and then again, reevaluating new proponents in legislation like stable coins and creating useful legislation for that, for them to be utilized for payment.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Biden's farewell speech. And we know this speech is encoded. And we have Biden speaks about the power of artificial intelligence. And don't forget, Biden told us that technology would move faster in the next 5 years than it did in the last 20, 30 years. And we know that is a fact. And then he talks about the oligarch, the power that's in a few hands. And you know, I talk about that all the time, but it's been like that for hundreds of years. Especially, that's how America was started, just by a few hands. And never forget, everything the Most High gave you, He gave you for free. You're allowed to live on this planet for free. But there's a few hands that monopolize all the commodities, and that's the reason why you're paying bills. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And then we have the rise of the military AI. And we know these cyber attacks, they can push a button and shut down a whole economy. And if we look at these fires in California, only thing you got to do is do your history work and see how they burnt up America to destroy the history. Remember, we've seen this movie before. And we have Biden says a ceasefire with Israel and Hamas. And we know that fits in with the Trump narrative. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Now we have Trump going to be bringing in crypto regulation and then also doing deregulation so the fourth industrial revolution can rise, to allow the robots, algorithms, and drones to take over the economy. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And these tariffs are definitely coming. And if you understand history, you know why. But you have the restructuring of the global trade system. And the key part of this is consumer retaliatory tariffs could leave the consumer worse off. And never forget what Elon said. There's going to be some pain. There's definitely going to be some pain in the United States because we're going to have mass layoffs. And then on top of it, the United States dollar is going to be divided. It's going to lose that world reserve currency, and all the surpluses that we have is going to be gone. And we know what the people are going to do. They're going to run to their government, and we know they cause the problem, wait for the reaction, and run in with the solution. And we know it's that UBI, that free money. But little do the people know that money is programmable, telling you what, when, and how to buy. And you have 3 to 6 months to spend it, or poof, it's gone. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have the Fed talking about tariffs because we know they're also getting prepared. I don't see any rate hikes. Even though we got the CPI numbers, they still came in hot. But we know the mainstream media is going to push a narrative that it came in as expected. But when you actually take a look at the numbers, they're still hot. So that means the Fed is going to pause. The job market is still going to look decent because all this holiday hiring, we're not going to feel any effect until close to the second half. And we know all the layoffs are already scheduled. But then on top of it, we know these corporations are going to start laying off, but bringing in the technology to replace them. So therefore, they're not losing any productivity, actually are gaining productivity. And today, the Mag 7 gained $550 billion in one day due to the CPI numbers, yields dropping, dollar dropping. Guys, that's all an algorithm. And we know Aladdin is undefeated. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Council of Economic Advisors, Stephen Miram. It's a user's guide to restructuring the global trading system. And this is about connecting tariffs to our national security, to making sure that our allies and our rivals know what we expect of them and what they can face if they don't go along with some of the things that President Trump thinks is important, including reciprocity when it comes to trade. Are you committing to your NATO commitments, and are you meeting them? Those are all things that haven't really been discussions within international trade. This is a dramatic change if it happens. This is going to be the first major change the way we think about international trade since the end of World War II.
Michelle, you know where I'm going to go with this, because the incoming president promised a smaller government. They got this Department of Governmental Efficiency. They're going to whack this, whack that. Now we're talking about creating a new agency. Isn't that going in the wrong direction?
I think that's President Trump's style, in that he wants to create a headline. I think he likes to play on words instead of the Internal Revenue Service, the External Revenue Service. And it's also about making the point that he wants other countries to pay for being able to ship to the United States. Now, the thing is, you'll hear a lot of economists say, oh, and we just heard Steve Leisman talking about it. Great point about just to what degree could tariffs be inflationary? The simple answer is everybody says, oh, the consumer pays for it. Not always. Oftentimes, currencies adjust. The country that's importing, their currency may weaken. And so the buyer here in the United States actually doesn't see any impact on the price. That's what we saw with a lot of the Chinese tariffs back when they were implemented the first time under President Trump. So there's a lot of trade-offs here, and it's much more complicated than I think it's being made out to be.
Prices increased modestly, and some reports of flat to decreasing prices as well. Input costs rose, but again, some mention a flat to lower input costs. Some mentioned the potential for higher tariffs to contribute to price increases. Brian, taking a page out of your book, 23 mentions of tariffs, 11 in the last page book, 9 mentions of immigration, just 3 in the last page book. So these are becoming, guys, realities for businesses out there. They're passing along those concerns to the Federal Reserve districts, and that's how they're ending up in the beige book. And part of the thinking of the Federal Reserve. Why it is the Fed has become a little bit more reluctant. And what that shows is that the progress has stalled, okay? This is the headline, and look at what we did. We went from, I got to turn around, 9 to 6.4. That's a big jump.
In 6
months. We went from
months.
6.4 to 3.3 in a year. And then we did a very lackluster 0.4. You can see the same thing with the next chart that looks at the progress on the core rate. And that's, again, we got a little bit better number today. But if you look at the next one, look at, they're so good in the back there. Obviously, we didn't have as far to fall, but we did a nice jump from December 22 to December 23, 5.7 to 3.9. And then we did 0.7 last year. That's pretty good. But the point with this one is how much above 3% it remains. Now, take off a half to get to the PCE. That's a good benchmark, right? So, but you're still on the high 2s when it comes to PCE. Today's number we had, and let's ask Julie if she has a number. I saw people pencil in a 0.13 to 0.18. That would give you on the core, I think it's a 2.8%
for the PCE.
Year-over-year rate for the PCE.
For the Fed. So
Well, how about this? I mean, the Mag 7 stocks adding more than $550 billion in collective market cap today alone. That gives you an idea of what kind of day it's been.
I think that markets are showing some relief that CPI was dovish, and actually I think some of the inflation prints the last 2 days have been dovish, including PPI. So it's setting the stage for yields which kind of were close to touching 5% to kind of cool. And at a time when sentiment's been negative, I think we should be rallying.
Is the Fed back in the game? Which means this report was good enough, these two reports, really, as some are saying that, okay, you're not going to get a cut in January, but you could get one in March, and some people had written cuts off for many, many months.
Yes, into this CPI print, the whisper number for core CPI was over 0.3, so the market was bracing for a really hot number, and you could see it in the Fed Fund futures where, as of yesterday, there was a 30% plus chance of a Fed hike. I think those sort of extreme views have been quelled, and I just think generally without accounting for the fact that the California fires could mess with inflation, the inflation print over the next 3 months is going to be a lot lower than what we saw November and October. And remember, January to March of last year, it was close to 0.4. So I think inflation is setting up for some good comps.
Okay, because we don't see ourselves getting to 2% inflation until, all the way back to 2 until 2025 or so.
But still, CFOs had some concerns about when inflation will hit that 2% target. 29% say it's going to happen in the first half of next year. A quarter say in the back half of 2025. But you look here, look at the bar chart. 42% said it would take until 2026 or possibly even later to get back to 2%. Those inflation concerns are closely tied to recession concerns. More than 40% of CFOs believe we will see a recession in 2025. More than a quarter believe it will come in the first half of the year. But still, we have a third that are optimistic, a third are confident that we are on the path for a soft landing.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting it more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told told his members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will. During that auction that we saw a little bit before, the attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets. Now,
it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy. And you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence.
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.